ESPN put out their MLB grades for the month of April. The Dodgers got a B. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome into another episode of First Pitch, your daily source of baseball talk here on the Inside Baseball Network. I'm your host, Troy Brock. You can find me on Twitter at TroyBBaseball. He's Drew Crabtree. You can find him on the Twitter machine at DrewCrabtree12. And we are going to get to that ESPN list and grades of baseball teams for the month of April and how the Dodgers have the best record in Major League Baseball and got a B record. So we'll get to that. But first, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification icon so you can be notified when more episodes just like this go live. If you're listening on audio, leave us a 5-star rating. That wasn't words, but share the show with your friends. Send them to firstpitchpodcast.com so they can get their daily source of baseball talk. And how you doing this morning, Drusif?
Not too bad. Those Nationals that you said to not overlooked might have been overlooked. So, it's a new week, lots of baseball to be played, and excited to get talking about these wonderful grades that we got in front of us right now.
For sure. And yes, I have been preaching it all season long. Don't sleep on the Nationals. And I was busy yesterday with all kinds of things, but so I didn't watch too much baseball yesterday. Excuse me. But in Carline this morning, while we were waiting on it to start for my son to get out of the car, we were talking about baseball, and I told him the Phillies weren't playing today. He said, "Well, what game are you going to watch then?" And I said, "I don't know. Let me see what games are on today." And so I was looking, and I saw that Jake Irvin was pitching for the Nationals today, and I was like, "Oh, Mackenzie Gore pitched yesterday." And to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know the Nationals played the Reds yet this weekend. And so, Mackenzie Gore did pretty good in his start against the Reds. He struck out 9, but we'll get to that because that is a part of yesterday's ball games, and we're going to go over all of yesterday's ball games. And the first one is the Royals at the Orioles. Royals beat the Orioles 11-6 to move to 19-16. Orioles fall to 13-20. Padres at the Pirates. Padres win 4-0. They are now 22-11. Pirates fall to 12-23. Andrew Haney got the loss in that one. He is now 2-3 with a 3.18 ERA. Twins at the Bo Sox. Bo Sox take the L. Twins win 5-4. They are now 15-20. Red Sox fall to 18-18. Not Jarren Duran. Duran of Twins got to save his 4th of the year. Rays at the Yankees. Rays took that one 7-5. They are now 16-18. Yankees fall to 19-15. Taj Bradley got the win, his 3rd of the year. He's now 3-2 with a 4.43 ERA. And Will Warren takes the loss, 1-2, 5.65 ERA. And Pete Fairbanks gets to save his 8th of the year. Guardians at the Blue Jays. Guardians take that one 5-4. Tanner Bybee gets the win, 3-2, 4.26 ERA. Bowden Francis has not been great this year, 2-5, 5.66 ERA. And Emmanuel Clase also has not been great this year from an ERA standpoint, I think. But he has 7 saves, and the Guardians move to 20-14, while the Blue Jays fall to 16-18. Athletics at the Marlins. Athletics win 3-2. They are now 19-16. Marlins fall to 13-20. Diamondbacks at the Phillies. The getaway day game for the Phillies, and they are now off today. But that game went to extras. The Diamondbacks won 11-9 at one point. The Diamondbacks were up 7-1. And then the Phillies came back and made it a game again. Did not watch it. But Jose Alvarado got the L because Rob Thompson's a dumbass, and he tried to keep him in there for 2 innings. Final in 7 innings, Astros and White Sox. White Sox win 5-4. It was Lance McCullers Jr.'s first Major League Baseball game that he has pitched in since the World Series in 2022. He was great through 3 2/3. But the White Sox did win 5-4. They are now 10-24, and the Astros fall to 17-16. Cubs at the Brewers. Brewers win 4-0 to move to 17-18. Cubs fall to 21-14. Freddie Peralta got the win, 4-2, 2.18 ERA, and Shota Imanaga got the loss, 3-2, 2.82 ERA. And the loss added insult to injury because he left that game early with an injury. Rangers hosted the Mariners and won 8-1. They are now 17-18, while the Mariners fall to 20-13. Jacob deGrom got the win. He is 2-1 with a 2.61 ERA. Rockies at the Gigantes. Gigantes win 9-3. Giants are now 22-13. Rockies fall to a major league worst 6-28. Logan Webb got the win, 4-2, 2.61 ERA, and German Marquez still exists in Major League Baseball for some reason. Tigers beat the Angels 13-1. They are now 22-13. Angels are 13-20. And go. Hanowitz got the loss. He's 1-5 with a 5.79 ERA, our favorite baseball player. Nationals at the Reds. The Nationals beat the Reds 4-1. I don't know why this game is so far down on the list, but good God. Nationals move to 16-19. Reds fall to 18-17. And Drew, thoughts on that game?
Nick Martinez actually looked pretty good in this game. Both the Reds and the Nats scored one run in the second. Unfortunately for the Reds, that was the only run that they scored. This weekend series was super frustrating because an underrated aspect of the Nationals this year, and I meant to look it up, is their gloves. This series, they made so many incredible plays on the diamond. It was ridiculous on defense. We the Reds fans are used to watching Ellie De La Cruz and his massive range and everything like that. But the Nationals have a bunch of guys that field their position incredibly well. And that's what kept them in these games and then allowed them to build upon their leads or break the tie rather, on Sunday late. And it was super frustrating. The Reds were hitting. They were hitting these guys, but they were hitting them within the range of all these defenders. And it was really frustrating because, Nick Martinez gave him a good outing. Nick Lodolo did not give them a good outing, but they were able to keep pace for a while. And then, it's just their gloves paired with the fact that the Reds, I think they said it on the broadcast, the Reds have lost 19 of their last 23 rubber matches. Probably not a good way to get back into your winning ways. I'm no rocket surgeon, but super frustrating. Now they get to go to play the Atlanta Braves, who had a rough weekend themselves, but they won yesterday, as we'll get to. It was frustrating. Don't overlook the Nationals. That record, 3 games under 500. They're better than that.
Yeah, 100%. And I did look it up while you were talking. They have 11 players who have enough attempts to qualify for the outs above average leaderboard. 5 of them have positive outs above average totals. And the leader in the pack, surprisingly enough, third baseman Paul DeJong with 4 outs above average.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Young is of course a gold glove. I'm sorry. Jacob Young is of course a platinum glove caliber center fielder. And he also brings a little bit at the plate with the stick. Nasim Nunez has 2 outs above average as a shortstop. Dylan Cruz, he sucks at the plate and hadn't figured that out yet, but he's good defensively. And Jose Tena also. And so it's and even though CJ Abrams is not a good fielder, period. There's no defensive of him. But even though James Wood has -2 outs above average right now, he's a lot better in left field than that -2. He makes the plays that he's supposed to make. Let's say that. The Nationals defense is outstanding. And again, don't sleep on the Nationals. Dodgers at the Braves, Sunday Night Baseball. Braves won 4-3 to keep from being swept. They've moved to 15-18. Dodgers fall to 23-11. Bryce Elder, I didn't even know her, got the win. He's 2-1 with a 5.06 ERA. Dustin May got the loss, 1-2, 4.36, and apparently it is not going to be May because he loses. And Raisel Iglesias picked up the save, his 6th of the year. And then we had a doubleheader yesterday, so those games get pushed to the back. Mets at the Cardinals. Cardinals won both games. Cardinals won the first one 6-5, and Cardinals won the second one 5-4. And, people called me a hater on the Mets over the weekend, and for that, I have this to say.
At the end of the day, if you don't like it, play better.
They lost to the Cardinals. Eric Fetty got the win in the first one. McGreevy got the win in the second one. Halsey picked up the save in the first one, and Kranick got the loss in the second one. Whole lot of there, but the Mets are now 22-13. Cardinals are 16-19.
I'm a hater, man. I don't think you want to ask me that. I am a hater, so I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Any final thoughts on yesterday's games, Drew, or the weekend in general?
Yeah, I love it how the two teams that we hate the most faced off. But get this. So the Cardinals in the last week have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. On days where they only play one baseball game, they lost. On the days that they had double headers, they took both of them. It's so weird how they did that because they lost to the Brewers to end that series. They lost to the Reds on Monday, doubleheader on Wednesday, swept it. Obviously, we touched on that. That was brutal. Lost on Thursday, lost to the Mets on Friday, got rained out on Saturday, swept both of them on Sunday. So there's something going on with St. Louis and playing two games at one, in one game or one day, and they're going to be hoping they're going to be doing their little rain dance for as many rainouts as possible so they can keep that weird voodoo going. I mean, good for them, but God, I hate watching the Cardinals win.
I know you hate it, but I could not have been happier with the Cardinals winning yesterday, especially both games, because screw the Mets. But yeah,
The easy schedule didn't bail them out for this one, did it?
It did not bail them out for this one. You know, even a blind dog finds a bone every now and then, and the Cardinals found 2 bones yesterday because they won 2 games. In case you forgot, the Cardinals swept that doubleheader of the Mets yesterday, which means, by the way, that the Cardinals won the series against the Mets. So,
see, I hear that good teams lose doubleheaders, lose both games of doubleheaders to the Cardinals. Only good teams do that. So I'll give the Mets that. Don't worry.
That's got to be what it is. Because, but of course, then again, you say good teams and the Mets in the same sentence, and that's just kind of surprising. That's kind of an oxymoron there, Drew. But we'll get to today's
Is that as much
slate.
a stretch as saying good teams and the Reds in the same sentence?
No, I think good teams in the Reds is better than good teams in the Mets.
Oh my goodness! All right.
We'll get to today's slate of games later on in the show, but first, we have to talk about this article that came out from ESPN. And Drew, you sent this to me, I think on Friday when it came out, and it's from Dave Schoenfield, and he handed out grades A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. to all 30 teams for their April performances. And, there's a few surprising ones in here. The Chicago Cubs got an A-. I don't really understand that. The San Diego Padres also got an A-. I don't really understand that. The Seattle Mariners only got a B+, and they're one of the best teams in the American League right now. I don't really understand that. But, we get down here, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, this was written on Friday. I don't know what the records were entering Friday, but right now, even with the loss yesterday, the Los Angeles Dodgers enter play today with a 23-11 record through their first 34 games. Do you know how many teams have a better record than the Los Angeles Dodgers in Major League Baseball right now?
I think you hinted at it before. I'm going to guess that number is 0. Yeah.
It sure is, pal. The Dodgers have the best record in Major League Baseball. And the Dodgers got a letter grade of B. And I think that the craziest thing about this is, for me, that might be too high of a letter grade with the expectations and the hype that was surrounding the Los Angeles Dodgers entering this season and how they are Major League Baseball's favorite team. Because, yes, they're 23-11, but they got out to an 8-0 start or something crazy like that. And so they've gone 15-11 since that 8-0 start. And that's not ideal for a team who's supposed to be as good as the Dodgers. Yes, they've had injuries to Blake Snell and they've had injuries to Tyler Glasnow, but for those of you who have listened to the show religiously, they should have expected those. They were coming. There are more injuries coming to their rotation. But the offense has been, while it's been good, it hasn't been as good as many people expected it to be. So where do you stand on this, Drew? How do you feel about the Dodgers being given a letter grade of B here for their April so far?
I can understand it. I definitely see where you're coming from because, the hype of the Dodgers is that they're going to win just about every game because they paid for it. And, they're playing that game. Yeah, and I don't blame them at all because they can splash around in those waters. But yeah, I mean, just like you said, that's the thing that Dave Schoenfield says at the beginning of his little blurb. He says the Dodgers started 8-0, have been sort of mediocre since, and have a growing list of injuries or issues and concerns. And we spelled out their injury issues and what we think is going to happen. The wheels are going to fall off of that rotation unless they're able to make some kind of crazy trade and overpay for a starter or two. And that would get expensive. But yeah, I think that the letter grade, despite the fact that they are leading now Major League Baseball in wins, is probably a tad high because of the fact that they're expected to be a World Series contender. I mean, they're coming off of the World Series, and they didn't get worse in the offseason. They got stronger. Now, obviously, they lost Gavin Lux, and that's a massive hit. I'm joking, but he's been great for the Reds. I've liked that, but no, like he says here, Roki Sasaki hasn't won a game in 6 starts. But I think that was before his start this weekend, and I think that there is a mixture of unrealistic expectations because baseball is hard to win a whole bunch of games. Consistently, although the Dodgers tend to do that and only have like 1 ring in recent memory, maybe 2. And the issue is that at the same time with that, people are just bored of how good they are. And I can say that I'm a little bored with how good they are. I'm bored with how they always get the top talents. He did win on his start on the 3rd. So that little point in his blurb doesn't seriously apply, although the Dodgers did give him 10 runs of run support, which must be nice. I don't fully disagree with it because of what we expect is going to be happening down the road. But I get it. A B, man.
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree with you. It's they were expected to do a lot better than they have so far. And something that sticks out to me is, I watch every time I watch a Phillies game, it's on MLB.TV when I'm not sailing the high seas. And so it's every single commercial break for MLB.TV when they're not doing the local commercials. They play, commercials for different teams, different hype videos and whatnot. And just about every other commercial break is for MLB's favorite team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it's, the MLB Network crew, different segments where they've talked about the Dodgers, different clips that they've said, and so on and so forth. And one of them that really sticks out to me is Greg Amsinger, who I'm not a big fan of and haven't been throughout his tenure with MLB Network as pretty much the face of their network. But Greg Amsinger said that last year's World Series could be the start of 4 or 5 consecutive World Series championships for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that is the legitimate expectation that a lot of people have for the Los Angeles Dodgers because of the amount of money that they've spent, the amount of talent that they've accrued over the past few years, and just how good they were last year and how good they were expected to be this year. And when you look at what they've done this year, you don't really see that. You don't really see a team that, while you see a team that's good, still dealing with this shit, man. While you see a team that's good against teams over 500, they played to a 7-6 record against teams over 500. And that include, the Braves aren't over 500 yet. I forgot they're not over 500. Hey, Braves fans, y'all ain't over 500 yet. But that includes, the Phillies, who took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. The Chicago Cubs won more against the Dodgers than they lost. And it's just, they're not beating the good teams, the other good teams in Major League Baseball right now, and that's just not something that you expected. I mean, even with the Braves' struggles, we still expect them to be a team above 500 over the course of a full 162 game season. But the Braves held Shohei Ohtani in check pretty good, and if you look throughout his career at the plate, while he was a National League MVP last year, good pitching held him in check pretty good. Because when the Phillies face Shohei Ohtani don't hit. The Braves held Shohei Ohtani in check pretty good. The Chicago Cubs held Shohei Ohtani in check pretty good. And so there's good teams and then there's good teams. And yes, the Los Angeles Dodgers are a good team. And yes, they have the best record in Major League Baseball right now. But I think to this point, they have still disappointed.
I mean, we see this all the time in other sports. In college football, you've got the blue bloods where if they lose a game, it's burn it all down, fire the coach, just sink the stadium into the nearby river. Speaking as an Ohio State fan, because that's my cross to bear. And I was one of them after the Michigan loss this year, but with every loss that Ryan Day takes, it's the end of the world. And when he's lost now 4 in a row, 3 of which thanks to cheating, but 4 in a row, yeah, I can understand where people are getting. And so, there's that expectation, especially when you're just coming off the title. And, we're going to see that in Columbus this year. Just coming off the title, no one is satisfied with just one. And, you're going to have to play good teams this year if you're the Dodgers. It's just how the schedule works out now. Everyone plays everybody, and I love it. And then obviously you're not going to run into any bad teams when you make the playoffs. Even if the playoffs are expanded to where they are now for 6 teams and it feels a little watered down, you're still going to have to play. The Padres are probably going to make the playoffs. The Cubbies are probably going to make the playoffs. The NL East is going to have a couple teams in the playoffs. You're not going to get Colorado for a playoff series, and beating up on the Rockies is all fun and games, but those are empty calories. Like, you got to stack up wins where you're getting them, but if you're not beating those good teams, then people are going to start selling. And I think that's probably going to be what's happening with the Dodgers. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this month. With those injuries starting to pile up, and then, we're expecting those wheels to fall off. And then, of course, the NL West is as difficult as they can be. I do think that there's a little bit of, greatness fatigue, but yeah, if you set the bar that high, you gotta clear it.
Yeah. And last thing here on the Dodgers before we kind of move on and talk about some of these other teams in this list. The Dodgers went 3-4 versus the Cubs. The Dodgers went 1-2 versus the Phillies. And they also went 1-2 versus the Nationals. And they took 5 of 6 from the Braves. And then they went 9-0 against the Colorado Rockies, the Detroit Tigers, and the Miami Marlins combined. 2-1 versus the Pirates and 2-1 versus the Rangers. So, yeah, it's been a lot of feasting on weak teams, because while the Detroit Tigers are the best team in the American League, the National League is head and shoulders above the American League this year. Like, it's not even close, just like it wasn't last year. The National League is far and away superior to the American League. And so it's been a lot of feasting on weak teams, or weaker teams in the case of the Tigers, for the Dodgers, and not really doing much against other teams that are contenders. But that's enough about the Dodgers. There's of course, there are grades for all 30 teams in here. We're not going to go through all of them, but are there any other teams in here that kind of stick out to you, like the grades spot on, or the grades not close? Like, how do you feel about the rest of this list here?
Overall, like, the problem is with David Schoenfield and a bunch of other national people, and we run into it as well here on this podcast. They don't watch everybody, and I think that that's pretty jump on the Reds soapbox now. It's pretty evident with the Reds. Like I will not disagree with the C+ grade. The Reds definitely should be better. The lineup has been hit or miss. They've been pretty good over the last week or so. But the one thing that I will take issue with is he's not convinced that this is a playoff caliber bullpen, and I will disagree with that. There are tiers to the bullpen, like there are with every team, but I will stack up the Reds group of Graham Ashcraft, Emilio Pagan, a number of those guys against most. Ashcraft gave up I think he gave up those 3 runs yesterday. Everyone has a bad day. But I do think that the Reds bullpen is playoff caliber, especially when you get to the playoffs and you can just start throwing starters back there. Obviously, Hunter Green will be a starter if the Reds make the playoffs. But can you imagine Nick Lodolo coming out of the playoffs with that stupid back foot curveball coming right off the back of Hunter Green? Like, talk about a culture shock. No, that's one thing that I will disagree with. Now, going from somewhere negative, I will go somewhere positive. Aaron Judge is ridiculous this year, and I didn't realize just how crazy he's been. In the month of April, he was slashing 427, 521, 761 with 10 home runs and 32 RBI in 31 games. I don't like giving praise to the Yankees. I don't like giving praise to the big old coastal elites, but good Lord, man, is Aaron Judge on another level right now. Obviously the award isn't won in April, but I think that the AL MVP is his to lose right now. And he's honestly pulling that lineup, behind him, kicking and screaming, because their bats could go silent at any given time. Obviously, then their bats can go nuclear at any given time. We see that in Cincinnati. But overall, I think the grades are fairly appropriate. It's just grading 1 month, grading the first month of the season is just really hard.
Yeah, for sure, and I completely agree with you that covering baseball on a national scale is hard. Like we people that do that, us included, we don't see everything, and we don't watch every team play. It's impossible to watch 15 games in a single day. So you're not going to see everything. You're not going to be in the loop for everything. And so I completely agree with that. And yeah, grading teams on 1 month is also hard. I think for me, the C feels, kind of okay. I think maybe a C+ would have been a little bit better for the Philadelphia Phillies, because you do expect them to be better than they have been, and they have been better over the last week, and they finally started to turn things around as the weather's gotten warmer. But it's just, I don't think that he kind of alludes to the fact that they might not be a playoff team this year, and I don't think that's anywhere close to being the case. But I think that I think the D+ for the Nationals is also very low for the Nationals. Again, don't sleep on the Nationals. But I think that one he is spot on with is the Colorado Rockies and their F-, because they have been historically bad this year, especially in the month of April. And, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but the White Sox set the major league record for most losses in a single season last year. And the Rockies are on pace to shatter that record, because it's insane how bad the Rockies are this year. And that's what happens when you have such a poorly run organization for so long. You just use any stars that you do have get traded away for prospects that aren't worth a damn, and they're never going to be worth anything. And it just continuously gets worse and worse and worse, because it's such a poorly run organization. And that might be something that we see with the Los Angeles Angels before too long, with which, by the way, update to our Mike Trout from last week. He is on the injured list now with a bone bruise, so he's going to be out for a little bit. But yeah, it's just bad in Colorado. Can it get any worse than it is right now in Colorado, Drew?
I mean, yeah, probably, but it's hard thinking about that because like they could go winless in May or winless over the course of an entire month, and like you said, so the strategy among teams that can't just go out and buy players. You see the mid to small market teams do this all the time. They trade away their superstars for prospects. And if you do it correctly, i.e., you scout correctly, you develop them correctly, you have a machine. All you got to do, you trade off the stars, you get prospects, and you just keep churning through it. You've already got in your mind, I'm not going to extend this guy, and it sucks. I'm resigned to the fact that the Reds aren't going to extend Ellie De La Cruz. They might be able to get Matt McLain, but Ellie's going to be traded at some point because he is that top tier player, and they had better be doing their homework on the the haul that they're going to get. But you see this with the Tampa Bay Rays, and when they traded away their pieces for prospects, they developed them, traded them away, got more prospects. It's this whole thing, and obviously that's what the Marlins are trying to do. They have a young team with a couple of guys that are flashing, but still on the Marlins right now. And that is an incredibly difficult way to run your team because you are betting on 5-6 years down the road that these guys take the step because your development system is still in place because managers getting fired after 4 or 5 years completely derails that. And you're hoping that these guys pan out because when I look back at some of the trades that the Reds have made, some of them have looked pretty good, and some of them are like, wow, you just gave him away. And it's a dangerous game to play because, one, not every MLB team out there is trying to win baseball games. And doing that makes it show like, okay, we're punting, we'll win down the road. No, you won't. You're not trying. And even if you win a couple of games, it'll be in spite of your ownership. And that's, unfortunately, I don't know if a cap or a salary floor is going to fix something like that, because to a lot of these owners, it's just a check. It's just a check to them, and it's honestly incredibly disheartening because you see how competitive other professional sports are. And then you have Major League Baseball where you have 5 teams that are going for it, 5 teams that are like, we might have something here. And then the rest of them are just like, all right, we'll try next year. And it's super disheartening, but the Rockies might be about a decade away from competing at this point, and it's super unfortunate. Their big swings haven't paid off. We've talked about Chris Bryant. That swing didn't pay off, and so on. So it could be worse, but it's going to be hard to top being worse than what they are now.
Yeah, for sure. And not to continue to glaze the Nationals, but 2 of their biggest pieces, the James Wood and Mackenzie Gore, both gotten in trade from the San Diego Padres in the Juan Soto deal. And another big piece that they got in that Juan Soto deal is still working his way through the minors, and he'll be up probably at some point this season. So the teams that do it right are successful, and the teams that do it wrong are the Colorado Rockies. But we have a shortened slate of games today, only 10. It is Monday. A lot of teams are off. But that doesn't mean that there are not some good games on the docket. In the first game of the day, Not a good game on the docket, but at 6:40 p.m. Eastern, the Dodgers at the Marlins. Ben Casparius at Sandy Alcantara. Dodgers look to move to 24-11. Marlins look to move to 14-20. 5 minutes later, 6:45 p.m. Eastern, Guardians at those Nationals that we've been glazing all day. Guardians look to move to 21-14. Nationals look to move to 17-19 behind Jake Irvin. 20 minutes later, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, Padres at the Yankees. That's a big one. Padres look to move to 23-11. Yankees look to move to 20-15. Nick Pivetta on the mound, and he is looking to improve his case for the National League Cy Young. He is 5-1 right now with a 1.78 ERA. 10 minutes later, Reds at the Braves. I would love to watch this game. Probably have to sail the high seas to do so. Brady Singer at AJ Smith Shawver. Reds look to move to 19-17. Braves look to move to 16-18. Thoughts on this game, Drusiff?
I am very excited for this 4-game series because the Reds get to throw the 4 pitchers in their rotation that aren't named Nick Martinez, and I'm very excited for that. Last season, despite the Reds being 77-85, they were 4-2 against the Atlanta Braves. So here's the hoping they have that crazy juju, playing up to their opponents. But this week is going to be crucial for them because they have 7 straight days on the road, 4 against the Braves, 4 against the Astros, who, again, oddly enough, they've had a lot of success against. They sweep the Astros, it feels like, every other year. I'm very excited for this week because while the series against the Nationals was super frustrating, there were a lot of reasons for optimism, like the fact that they're hitting the ball. They are going to miss Ronald Acuna coming back. I think he's still a couple weeks out, which is very helpful. But I think that this week is going to show where they are when it comes to if they're going to be anywhere closer to contending, or if they're just going to hover around that will they, won't they line. Because if they can come out of this road trip with 4 or 5 wins, they get to welcome the Chicago White Sox at home, and then they have the first leg of the Battle of Ohio Cup against the Guardians after that. Very excited for it. The Reds get to pitch Brady Singer, and then they'll turn over the rotation with Hunter, Abbott, and Lodolo. Yes, very excited for it. Here's to hoping the Braves don't go back over 500 after this series.
Yeah, that is going to be a fun series. Like I said, I would love to watch that game, that series, but unfortunately I'm blacked out because Major League Baseball is stupid. But 25 minutes after that game, 7:40 p.m. Eastern, the Gigantes at the Cubs. Cameron Roop at Matthew Boyd. Giants look to move to 23-13. Cubs look to move to 22-14. Also at 7:40 p.m. Eastern, White Sox at the Royals. Cole Reagan's on the mound for the Royals as they look to move to 20-16, and the White Sox look to move to 11-24. Also at 7:40 p.m. Eastern, the Astros at the Brewers. Astros look to move to 18-16, while the Brewers look to move to 18-18. Ronel Blanco on the mound for the Astros. 5 minutes later, 7:45 p.m. Eastern, the Pirates at the Cardinals. Mlodzinski at Michaelis. Pirates look to move to 13-23. Cardinals look to move to 17-19. There are no national games. Well, I guess MLB Network out of market only for Padres, Yankees, and Reds, Braves. And of course, the out of market only where I live on MLB Network, they'll have the Reds and the Braves, and they won't give me an option to watch the Padres and Yankees if I wanted to because it's stupid. But 9:40 p.m. Eastern, Sucks at the Diamondbacks. Sucks are throwing Griffin Canning. He's 4-1 with a 2.61 ERA. And Ryan Nelson for the Diamondbacks, 1-0 with a 5.82 ERA. Sucks look to move to 23-13. Diamondbacks look to move to 19-16. 25 minutes later, 10:05 p.m. Eastern and the nightcap. Mariners at the Athletics. Mariners look to move to 21-13 behind Bryce Miller, and Athletics look to move to 20-16 behind Luis Severino. Any final thoughts on today's games, Jerusalem?
If you are casually listening, he refers to the Mets as the Sucks, S-U-C-K-S, not the Sox. It honestly sounded very similar. It's that, Alabama drawl that he's got. But we got some good series this week. Guardians Nationals is going to be great. Padres Yankees, Reds Braves, Cubbies Giants, Astros and Brewers, even, two teams that are not quite playing up to what they expected. And then obviously Pirates and Cardinals with the pillow fight. So it's going to be a good week for baseball. Go Giants.
Yeah, I was, whenever you were talking about the Reds a minute ago, I was thinking that this weekend was MLB's new rivalry weekend, where they have teams that aren't really rivals facing off against each other, like the Phillies and the Pirates on rivalry weekend. And I was thinking that the Reds and the Astros was MLB's rivalry I was trying to figure out why in the hell the Reds and the Astros were rivals. Like that would make less sense than the Phillies and the Pirates. I get the Phillies and the Pirates are in the same state. That does not make you rivals. It's the Phillies and the Pirates are not rivals, especially now that there is no longer a poop game. So it's make it make sense. Major League Baseball. Baseball's great. We got a lot of great baseball happening this week. We got a lot of great baseball games today. It is going to be a fun week. It is going to be a fun day, and it is always fun here on the First Pitch Podcast. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification icon so you can be notified when more episodes just like this go live. If you're listening on audio, leave us a 5-star rating, hit that share button, and give the show to your friends. Send them to firstpitchpodcast.com so they can get their daily source of baseball talk. And until next time, this has been First Pitch.